Why do people who aren't big horror fans, who scare easily, who are maybe superstitious, who have overactive imaginations, go out of their way to experience something they know will cause distress, play on their minds, and make it near impossible to sleep at night for a good week?
Oh, it's just a chair.
Why do we consistently choose to sit through stories that feature ghosts, goblins, and ghouls? Okay, maybe not goblins. Those guys are adorable. Let's change that to psychological torment.
No! No!
The answer: to experience new art, new stories. Horror is a misunderstood and complex genre that can take many forms. You have your slasher fix, psychological head scratchers, creature features, the experimental art house, ghosts and paranormal phenomena, body horrors and gore, animated horror, comedy horrors, cheesy horror, romantic horrors. The potential is endless. I have a conflicted relationship with horror as a whole, with a genre that is so multifaceted and mind-bending at times. The thought of quality sleep feels oppressive when it denies me the chance of potentially experience a new and creative horror film, which could, and possibly will, scare me. People are naturally curious, and horror explores the uncanny connections of real-life dangers and fantasy, posing the question to audiences: what would you do if this happened? Which you'll certainly let the characters know when shouting at the screen. As straightforward as the word horror sounds, the genre is a pool of creativity, capable of expanding into our world more personally than we realise. How many times have you thought about Michael Myers when hearing heavy footsteps?
Oh, look. Look where?
Or have you turned a creepy doll to face the wall? The rush we gain from watching horror can't be beaten. The stimulation, the dopamine, the social connection of going into a dark theatre and being surrounded by your friends, clutching the arm of your neighbour a bit too hard.
Holly.
All being caught off guard from a frightening jump scare that can make the experience and the next few nights of poor sleep all that worthwhile. A biological and scientific cause can mean some people's brains are potentially shaped to enjoy horror. For example, an individual with a smaller amygdala would have a lower response to stress and fear, making it easier to watch horror and aiding the subconscious in recognising the difference between real and false danger in their environment. Horror is also hugely significant culturally and representative of the challenges humanity faces, with biting social commentary shown through the lens of political corruption, social discrimination and gender violence, reproductive rights, environmental consequences, disease outbreaks, drug use and religious theory. The messaging conveyed through horror is more relatable to real life than any action or rom-com story. Saying that out loud can be a depressing thought, but as much as horror can hold a mirror to society, it can also serve as a pre-warning. It hypothesizes the worst-case scenario, as unbelievable as it might be, and the instinctual human nature to plan for potential danger is unlocked, a core survival skill, which it allows us to explore in a safe environment. Horror does more than simply scare. It can take us to the deepest pits of our subconscious mind and fears, and with storytelling that slowly guides us down to the depths before we can realise how far we've been taken. Horror can show us the clearest, cruelest, most heartbreaking moments of human existence. In Smile, while we are stalked and creeped out by the most hideous smile a person can make, we realise the core of the film is about mental health and trauma, and what it can feel like for a person to not get the help they need, to be marked as crazy. In Talk to Me, we are witness to the consequences of parental negligence and social peer pressure. In Scream, we are shown how toxic and destructive the behaviour of fans and cult followings can be.
Nobody takes the true fans seriously. Not really. They just laugh at us. And why? Because we love something?
And most famously, The Babadook, which isn't just about an annoying kid, and a scary monster, but an incredibly cathartic and vulnerable message about grief and depression. If you're lucky, you can make it through to the end of the nightmare. If you use your intelligence, your compassion, the use of companionship and love, You can defeat the beast and be a survivor. Or of course your naive boyfriend ruins your chances and you literally get dragged to hell by fiery demon hands. With all that being said, let's finally talk about my favourite aspect of horror, the visuals. I think some of the most beautiful cinematography can be found in horror, and I'm not just talking about pretty pictures. Some close competitors can be seen in sci-fi and dramas, but horror visuals have to tell the story, pushing every department together to make the audience feel, even if that's done through not showing something. It communicates to our psyche more effectively than any other genre of media. Watching a spaceship crash into the rings of Saturn is glorious to see, but a small boy innocently exploring the twists and turns of an empty hotel, suddenly coming across two silent twins? Unsettling. Or Liv Tyler walking through her home, safe and comfortable, until a stranger is seen behind her in the room and only the audience knows they're there? Heart-stopping. A paralysed man in a gutted bear costume forced to burn in a building alongside other doomed people. Somewhat deserved, but quite an extreme punishment for being a lazy boyfriend. The underappreciation of horror being an incredibly smart and artistic medium is a topic that I tend to go on about to friends who aren't fans of horror, because I genuinely believe that the potential for creative storytelling and making meaningful filmmaking shines through the most for films that are placed in the horror category. Horror draws people in. They are a staple of cinema and a genre that brings people together the most, either for a great time or at least to make fun of. Horror never ceases to be both gorgeous and something you cover your eyes and ears to and sing la 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 very loudly. It's a developing genre, which always has something for everyone. It takes the most creative risks, and that will always draw average moviegoers to theatre seats, because better than any billboard poster or expertly cut trailer, the best advertising a film can get is through word of mouth. And if there's one thing horror fans like to do, it's talk about scary movies while being insanely sleep deprived. We know the things that scare us the most, and sometimes so do the writers and producers. And the ever-changing but current social timing of horror films and their bizarre beauty will keep me curious and up at night for years to come.
See? Everything's okay.